Okay, hey everyone, Tarek Ahmed here, and welcome back to my channel. Just a bit of, history about myself. I'm a YouTuber, videographer, photographer, you name it, from Manchester in the United Kingdom, and I do a lot of travel videography on my channel. So, feel free to check out my other videos. And yeah, I just thought I'd, change it up a little bit and try doing a tutorial because I'm always getting asked about how I do my color grading. And I thought it'd be quite useful to a few of you on how I go about doing that. And it's really simple. I use a LUT called ASPEN. You might know about it. It's a free LUT that anyone can download. Jump into Google. All you have to do is type in ASPEN, so ASPEN LUT, and it's the first link, and anyone can download it. You can use it on Premiere, Photoshop, After Effects, DaVinci, Final Cut. So anyone can use it, and it's really simple. It's also important to note that I use a Sony a6300 for all of my videos, as well as a DJI Mavic Air. And on the Sony I use a CINE4 picture profile and the D-CINELIKE picture profile on my drone. So all of these clips you see here are filmed with those settings. So yeah, we'll just jump straight into it then. So we've got this clip here from Sintra in Portugal, so it's quite high up, quite mountainy, and this is the process I usually follow. So I jump into the creative part on the Lumetri color pane, and then I just drop the LUT in. So that's the first step. And then next thing I do is play around with the intensity and find where it looks good. So if I blow it all the way up, it looks, really tealy, really fake. So I bring it down just so the trees still look a little bit green. So I'd say about 90 looks good. Put that in there. And then I jump into basic correction. This is the the next key thing. So I try and avoid the exposure at all costs, just because any exposure compensation you're going to do to your clip will always create some kind of noise. So if I bring it down, and it just looks dead artificial, so I try and keep that at 0. If you try bringing it up, it's awful. So we'll keep that at 0. I almost always bring up the contrast a little bit. So we'll bring it up to about 68. I think that looks quite good. Highlights we want to bring down, just because we've got a lot of detail in the background. So if you see, we've got the other mountains, and we want to try and keep that just because it adds a little bit more depth to the image. So I'm going to bring them down to about -77. Likewise with the shadows, I'm going to bring them down a little bit. So I'd say about -58 looks good to me. I always usually bring up the whites a little bit just to prevent the image getting too dark, because I almost always crush my blacks. So I crush the blacks just so, if you look on the left side of the preview, you can see some distortion occurring. So we want to try and avoid that. So I bring it down to the point where that isn't happening. And to me that looks quite good. I'm quite happy with that. And then I almost always just jump back into the intensity just to have another play around now that you've done the basic correction. And I mean, I was quite happy with what it was at before, so just put it back to 90 or 91. Lastly, I jump into curves, so I almost always add an S-curve, just because that's how you get your cinematic look. You're bringing up your highlights, bringing down your darks, and it makes a huge difference. So if I just bring up that point there, and then I bring down the darks a little bit, and almost instantly you can see that's made a huge difference. So bring that up, and then I always bring up this little tail just a little bit around there, and to me that looks perfect. I mean, you can always jump into your color wheels and stuff, but when you want a faster, just a quick color grade, just to prevent it looking flat and raw from your camera, this is pretty much my routine. So if I just go ahead and jump in and put the letterbox onto it, you can see that looks really, it looks really cool. It looks really good. There is a lot more you can do to it, but that's pretty much all I do to my clips. So if I take everything off, show you the before. So that's before, really green, really flat, and then gradually just add everything back in. As you can see, the basic correction makes a huge difference when I add it in now. And to me that looks great. The trees aren't too tealy, they still retain a little bit of green, they do look natural. And it fits my style of like a dreamlike state, and having everything it's just different. I've never seen any color grading done like this, and I do get asked quite a few questions regarding it. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that one. So next clip, we've got a monument somewhere in Madrid. So this was filmed, you know, pure daylight, pure sunlight. So I think the exposure could have been a little bit better, but purely because I had the ND16 filter on the drone, you know, this is all I could really capture from that day. So again, let's jump into the process. So you put your LUT in. As you can see, it's made everything really tealy, and you know, we want to try and avoid that. So I bring it down to about 40 looks good. You know, we've still got the green. I mean, it's not a huge difference if we take the LUT off. I mean, it's just really whitened the image a little bit. So in fact, I might bring it down just a little bit more. I'll bring it down to 22. Again, I'm not really going to mess with the exposure, even though I've not really exposed it correctly, but just to avoid any noise, I'm going to keep it at 0. I'll bring the contrast up a little bit. About 83 looks good to me. And then bring down the highlights. I'd say all the way probably for this clip, just because, you know, it is quite bright. We want to try and reduce all of that whiteness. Bring down the shadows. Again, I'd say all of the way. Bring up the whites just a tad. I'd say, I mean, because we've got quite a lot of white areas on the clip as it is, you know, this floor and then the pier, riverside, I don't even know, lakeside area, and then bring down the blacks. And to me that looks perfect. So if almost immediately, if we just click basic correction, it's made a huge difference, and that's just in basic correction. And then you jump into your curves. So let's add the S curve, bring the darks down a little bit, and then bring up this little end of it. And that was perfect to me. Like, it looks really good. So hide the letterbox. That's how we're looking. Bring your letterbox in, and that looks great. So before, and then your after. Right, next clip. So we put the LUT in. This is filmed on the Sony. So I'd say for this one, we'd keep it quite high. I'd keep it at about 90 for the intensity. Jump into your basic correction. Exposure is perfect, so we won't mess around with that. Bring down, or bring up the contrast, sorry. So I'd say around 70, 81, that looks good to me. I bring up the highlights just to accentuate these orange, I'll turn the letterbox off, the chandelier and the reflection and the different colours of this clip. And it was actually filmed in one of the palaces in Madrid, so I thought it'd be really cool to, you know, mess around with this. It's a nicely composited shot. Then we bring down the shadows just a little bit. I'd say about there, looks good. Bring up the whites, brighten the image a little bit, and then bring down the blacks. So you want to bring them down to the point where it's not distorting. So as you can see, my hair, my t-shirt, my arms, they just look dead noisy. So I bring it up to about, or bring it down just there. So really, really minute, -3. Jump into my curves, S curve, up, down, and then bring up this bit. And it looks perfect to me. So I mean, it could have been done a little bit better. I mean, the Sony a6300 isn't fantastic on its dynamic range and you know, how it handles in CINE4, but I mean, I'm quite happy with this. So if I put the letterbox back on, that came out quite nice. I'd probably just bring that there, and that looks really good, so I'm really happy with that. So yeah, let's jump into the final clip, which is another drone clip. So this was filmed in Lisbon, and as you can see, there's again a lot of colour, a lot of space for orange and teal to be used. You know, you've got your water, so you know you can apply your teal there, and then the roofs to use your orange. So let's just jump into it. So Aspen straight away, bring it down just a tad. I'd say about 49 looks good, and then basic correction, bring up the contrast a little bit. I'd say about 49. Bring down the highlights. As you can see in the distance, you've got some hills that you want to try and get in just to add a little bit more depth to your image. So let's bring the shadows down. I'd say about -56 looks quite good. Bring up the whites. I wouldn't say too much. I'd say about 14 is good. And then I'd just bring the blacks all the way down. There ain't much black in there, but any black that is, you know, lurking, I'd like to completely darken. So just mess around with the intensity again, just see what looks good. So I think up to the point 94 looks quite fake and artificial, so I'd say about 60 looks quite good. And then lastly, jump back into the curves, so S-curve. Almost always add an S-curve, and then just bring that in. I say that's pretty much done. I mean, there's always room for improvement, but for a quick color grade and just, you know, something to put together if you've been on your travels, or, you know, you've filmed something, but, you know, you're not happy with how the raw quality looks out of camera and out of drone, this is definitely how I'd go about it, just because it gives it that cinematic look and it's not washed out and, you know, the tealy orange, you know, that everyone uses, and it's free. So let's put the letterbox back in, and there we go. I think that looks quite good. I mean, you can always just change it around to how you want it. So if I just quickly render that, and here we go, this is how the clip looks. So, you know, if I just quickly scrub back, you know, we've got some nice details in the background of the mountains, and that looks really cool. So, you know, you've got your foreground, this is looking good, and this is the exact effect I'm trying to go for with my videos. So I'm really happy with how this clip looks. Forward onto this clip, we've got the green of the trees, and then we've got the water wasn't, you know, clean, so hence why it came out quite green. It wasn't, you know, crystal clear blue waters, so that looks perfect to me. We've got some details in the background of all the buildings, nothing's blown out, it looks really good. And then if we go into the next shot, we've got me in the palace, we've got all the different colours, skin tones look great. You know, you can always isolate your skin tones and edit them separately, which I will show a tutorial on, but this was just purely for ease and just to get something out there to show you guys about how, you know, generalize how I go about my color grading. So that looks great, that clip. And then lastly, we've got the rooftop, so that looks perfect to me. We've got the oranges, we've got the blues, we've got the ships, we've got everything in the background. It's giving like a dream-like feel to it, which is exactly what I was trying to go for. So I'm really happy with all of those clips. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that tutorial, you took something away from it. It's important to remember that not all clips are ever the same. It's not a copy and paste process, and it's important to remember that there is no rule to videography. I mean, there are obviously some rules, such as, you know, your shutter speed should always be double your frame rate, but, you know, always experiment and see what works for you and what you enjoy doing, and yeah, just try and stand out a little bit, and just create your own style, really. So I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial, you've taken something away from it. Anything you would like to see, any effects or my camera settings or just anything, my equipment, let me know in the comments. And also let me know if you do use this tutorial, drop your comments and drop your links in the comments. And yeah, I'll be happy to check out your videos and, you know, see how you've got on with it, and it'll be really good to see someone, you know, you lot taking something from the videos and just encourage me to make more. So yeah, hope you enjoyed and see you soon. Thanks. So guys, if you enjoyed that tutorial, please be sure to drop it a like. It really helps me out and, you know, helps other people see my videos. Even a comment, you know, just give me some feedback on how I've done for my first tutorial. It'd be highly appreciated. I'll drop some links down to my socials below, Instagram, Facebook, my Facebook page, where you can reach out if you need any advice and any help on what I've talked about, or if you want to get any more videography/photography advice. They'll be all linked below, so, you know, feel free to hit me up. But yeah, thanks again, and please subscribe for more. See ya.